All right. Hey YouTube, I'm Lucky, and we have a meaty Twab today. We have the weapons team coming out, and Bungie is addressing the huge false ban wave that went out. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Twab 10.6.22. Account bans, an update from our security team. Here to talk about the most recent wave of account bans and restrictions is our product security team. Security, before getting into explanations, we apologize to impacted players up front, which is nice to see Bungie actually apologizing for that because it's definitely unfortunate for people that got illegitimately banned. Our job is to protect our players, and our team unfortunately did the opposite this past week. When mistakes are made, transparency is important. We hope the information below, vague as it may be, in order to avoid teaching cheat developers about our systems, provides insight into what happened. So they purposely have to be vague when they talk about their cheat systems, so that way the cheat companies don't learn from what they say in the TWAB. So during the development of one of our cheater detections, a combination of requirements was set off for banning a particular class of cheaters. We utilized specific signatures that those types of players generate. Early last week, we started seeing an increase in appeals and began investigating. Once we identified the problem with the signature, we immediately unbanned anyone we could identify as impacted. We then began reviewing recent security actions with a fine-tooth comb and continued to unban people based on a review of appeals and our own investigations where appropriate. Here are some points to consider when discussing the most recent wave. The number of accounts caught cheating in other ways is much larger than those impacted by the mistake described above. Looking at just this new detection, which itself is a fraction of all security actions that take place, approximately 60 accounts were false positives. This mistake was a result of human error. We worked as quickly as we could to identify and rectify it. We sincerely apologize for the anxiety and uncertainty this caused. That's nice to see. Unbans began to occur within 24 hours of the first indication of a problem. Anyone who has appealed against their ban and subsequently been unbanned has received a direct response to their appeal indicating that reversal. We have several ways of detecting cheating in Destiny 2, and those unbanned were those affected by the specific error mentioned above. If a player finds themselves banned in the future, they were detected by one of our other methods. Got it. We can confirm that there is a lot of misinformation being passed around regarding why a person may be banned or unbanned. In instances where unbans happen, players were knowingly cheating, insert themselves into these conversations to try to get their own bans overturned. Please utilize our ban appeal process so we can follow up with individual accounts. So there you have it. Obviously pretty vague, but they apologized for what happened. And I guess that's a wrap on that. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments down below. And now let's jump into the weapons team. Alright, so look, there's no denying that Destiny has some pretty sweet tools for Guardians to kick butt and take names with. From flashy purple magic of awesome to the all-helpful Divinity for support. Uh-oh. There's a seemingly endless line of badass gadgets in our Guardians arsenal. Our weapons team has been talking about a lot of different weapon changes and philosophy, and now they are back to tackle some of the most asked questions we get regarding that pew-pew power. Here to chat more are a few members of our weapons team, including test engineer Taylor, design intern Alex, designers Brandon and Vivian, associate designer Mercules, shout out Mercules, senior designer George, and senior design lead Chris Proctor. Let's jump right into those questions. Team. General questions. When the full auto setting arrives for all weapons, are you still going to keep the full auto trigger system mod as an option? It's kind of nice to have the flexibility without making every weapon full auto. Yes, there are no plans to remove it. The full auto trigger system mod isn't going away. So basically what they're going to do is just make a full auto option within game, so that way you can just turn any, I believe you should be able to turn any gun into full auto, but I guess they're leaving the option to slot it on as well. What will replace full auto trigger system on exotics that have it as perk when the new accessibility feature goes live? We don't want to inadvertently make these stronger in PvP, so the goal here was to replace full auto with something fun and thematic, but more useful in PvE and PvP. Interesting. So some exotics, their catalyst gives them full auto. I think like Vigilant Swing and a few others. So they're going to give them a different catalyst, something that's, I guess, more useful in PvE and PvP. Sounds good. Without inadvertently buffing them. Here are some examples. Traveler's Chosen, replace full auto trigger system in the catalyst with surplus. Oh, cool. It actually gives me examples. Vigilant Swing, replace full auto trigger system in the catalyst with ensemble. Cool. And No Time to Explain, replace full auto trigger system with Feeding Frenzy. Nice. Well, No Time to Explain gets an inadvertent buff. It's already so good, but it's going to reload faster now. Divinity. Oh god. Note that encounters are built around players having access to being able to weaken As many folks have theorized, we don't believe that Divinity in its current form is actually a balance problem, i.e., it's not necessarily too strong in isolation. That said, Divinity is incredibly dominant in endgame PvE because it trivializes aiming precision weapons and has an extremely high uptime for weaken. The most important issue is that Divinity granting 30% weaken sucks the air out of the room for all the other weakened sources, such as Tether and Tractor Cannon, and we don't want the power creep past Divinity to make them interesting. Wow. With this in mind, we've been looking at Divinity for a while now and have tested a variety of changes in Season 19 over the last few months, landing on reducing Divinity's weaken from 30% to 15%. There it is! Wow, people are going to be very mad at Salty Greppo, but Salt suggested that Divinity lose its debuff altogether. I actually proposed that it was reduced from 30% to 20%, and they're actually choosing to go from 30 to 15, so they're having it, and this makes Divinity still very strong and very good, and helps those that can't hit their, shots or whatever, right? But if you want to, it creates a better skill ceiling for the game, I think. So I think this is a good thing. I know some of you will be very upset about it, because I made several polls asking about Divinity being nerfed, and the majority was saying no, don't nerf it. So I know a lot of you will be upset, but I think that this is a good change overall. I know that some of you will choose to attack people because they're content creators or they're good at the game or whatever, but I think that this actually adds more balance to end game stuff. So I think that's good. I'm excited for that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Comments on kinetic weapons in PvE. We're looking at kinetic damage as opposed to slot. Changes sometime post lightfall to make this a more interesting aspect of how weapons feel. Interesting. What about Adept raid weapon viability? Oh my. As it stands, crafted base raid weapons are flat out better than Adept raid weapons. Yes, that's a problem. We're not happy with this current state and have changes coming in Lightfall that give the new Lightfall raid Adept weapons access to enhanced perks. Let's go! Note that this is not going to be full freeform crafting. It's a little complex, so please look out for more information to come when we're a little closer to Lightfall's release. That's right. That's what I like to hear. That's good. This is good stuff. Future plans for exotic champion weapons. We don't have specific plans to add anti-champion mechanics to existing exotic weapons. The goal of recent additions was to address some obvious holes in the options available, and we're happy with how that worked out. That said, we are building anti-champion functionality into a new exotic weapon in Season 19, and may revisit other weapons later if we see a need. Interesting. A new exotic weapon in Season 19? What is that? King's Fall weapons have unorthodox perk pools. What are the team's feelings about continuing to do this versus making custom raid perks to differentiate endgame rewards? Got it. We have guidelines for how spicy perk pools can be depending on the difficulty of the source of the weapon. For example, Trials of Osiris and raid weapons get to break our standard perk combination rules. The King's Fall weapons push this to an extreme, and we're evaluating whether they're an actual balance issue. Seems okay so far, though. So basically, what they're talking about is double damage perks on like the Pulse, the Hand Cannon, Scout, etc. And it doesn't even seem to be that big of a deal. So it's good. I'm happy about that. We intend raid origin traits to make raid weapons feel unique, and may still make one or more perks that are exclusive to a new raid. Starting in Season 19, you will see a small number of non-raid weapons get access to perks from older raids. Jeez, okay. I like that. Season 19 is looking pretty spicy. Does Outbreak Perfected truly have persistence, or is it simply its recoil settling like any weapon? Outbreak does not have persistence. It does have 90 recoil direction, where similar weapons are in a 40 to 60 range. But more importantly, it recoils like an auto rifle, not a pulse rifle, which is part of why it feels so unique. This was a Destiny 1 bug that we elected to maintain in the Destiny 2 Reprising weapon. That's what Dwayne and others have been saying. They've been saying the Outbreak just shoots so smooth. Outbreak is a really fun pulse to use, and I guess that's the reason why, because its recoil is different. The Cold Denial that Xur sold with the Accuracy Masterwork, does that actually improve its accuracy? This is a great question. Wow, I can't believe they're actually answering this. Masterworks provide additional weapon stats to a stat already existing on the weapon. Weapons cannot benefit from a stat they don't have, and only bows have an accuracy stat. The short of it is a no, and Accuracy Masterwork won't have any effect on Cold Denial. So then why have it then? Remove it. What? That can't be the end of the conversation. Do stability perks such as Rapid Hit affect the perfect draw window on bows? Yes, anything that affects the stability stat on a bow will affect the perfect draw window. Got it. How was it for the weapons team to add subclass verbs like headstone, chill clip, and incandescent to weapons? Did you enjoy syncing the two more closely in gameplay and builds? Subclass 3.0 verbs opened up a huge amount of design space for weapons. The perks we've already made are just the beginning. Very nice. I like all of those perks, and I like the synergy they have with builds. Why does only a subset of exotic weapons tie into Subclass 3.0? We're not planning to tie every exotic into Subclass 3.0 verbs, but over time, we'll add functionality to several of them, starting with those that are strongly themed around damage types. We're currently looking at Seasons 20 and 21 for passes on this, but we don't have any more on this particular topic at this time. Are we going to be able to have multiple perks in each column on crafted weapons at some point in the future? That would be awesome. We're investigating this for a possible future release, but it's a more complicated task than it appears at first glance. Nothing in the immediate future, but we'll continue looking deeper into this. I would like that a lot. That would be so nice for if you could have double crafted weapons, then basically you could have the godroll, PvE godroll, and the PvP godroll, and you could just swap the perks based on the activity. So you could run around essentially with just the same weapon and everything. You know, depending, you could change a little bit based on the activity, but that would be awesome to have like the same hand cannon for everything. How did the extra perks on the ritual rank resets actually work? Is there a cap to the benefit? We have a formula that determines the maximum number of alternative perks based on the number of resets. For example, here are the formula for Valor. Left column, 1+. 2, right column, 1+. And then 2. So, basically what they're saying is every time you reset your Valor, or, you know, if you play a bunch of Crucible, reset your Valor, or in Vanguard ranks and all of that, you get more perks on the weapon drops. And so there's an algorithm to it. It seems like you just reset it twice and you should have everything. What this means is that the left column maximum perk counts increases at first and third resets, and the right column increases at the second and fourth resets. Really? The maximum possible is 3 perks in each column, with the actual number randomized between 1 and the current maximum. Really? So you want to get 4 resets to get to the max? Wow. There's been a lot of discussion on perk drop rates recently. I'd really like to know if all perks are truly weighted equally and randomized, or if certain perks have drop priority. Weapon perks are weighted equally under all circumstances. There are 0 cases in the game where one perk is more likely to roll than another. I've heard that you're reworking 20 exotic weapons in Season 19. Why so many? We said we're touching 20 exotics, both buffs and nerfs, but the extent of that varies quite a bit, from a substantial rework, Lord of Wolves, to a small but impactful change, Legend of Acris. There's a lot to cover, both big and small. Dang, Lord of Wolves, back on the menu, I hope. Bring it back. Also, a small update on the number. 20 is out of date, and it's now 26? 26 weapons? Wow. That's crazy. Destiny is changing so much now from season to season. This is going to be... I like it, but sometimes it gets a bit too much. We'll see how much change it is to these 26 weapons getting buffs and nerfs. We always keep the list of under and overused exotics in mind and decide to take a big chunk of them in Season 19. What are the criteria for reprising Destiny 1 weapons into Destiny 2? What an interesting question. I'm surprised they actually answer this. It's important to note that it's impossible to simply copy and paste Destiny 1 content into Destiny 2 because of engine changes and the significantly higher bar for art quality on current generation hardware. Any Destiny 1 content has to be rebuilt from scratch. They're basically the same development cost as brand new Destiny 2 weapons, and with some exceptions, we believe players significantly prefer new content over reprised. That's true. We do. Everyone should agree to that. For raids, we always reprise an exotic weapon associated with a raid. When we bring it into Destiny 2, we'll select the 6 most popular legendary weapons and reprise those as well. One other thing, and this hasn't come up yet, but in the event that a raid didn't have an exotic, or that exotic has already come back, or there were fewer than 5 legendaries, we get to make new weapons that match the raid. Ah, very nice. I like that. I like that a lot. Which would that be? Crota? Are they talking about Crota? Wait a minute. Did I just miss that? But also, Kratos' timepiece didn't come back with Vault of Glass. You guys are trying to say that wasn't one of the most popular weapons? Shame on you. Shame. It's a numbers game? Alright. Why does Adagio have to be different on so many weapons? It's actually not. Adagio is only branched 2 ways, specifically to prevent it from being too strong on bows, 1-hit kills, and shotguns. Bows, 20% damage, everything else 30% damage. Because of the damage number rounding, it may be difficult for players to reverse engineer this in-game. What does Zen Moment actually do? This is a good question. I think they actually answered before. Each hit grants a stack that lowers recoil, reloading, or not hitting for 1 second clears all stacks. As for what it does, maximum stacks massively reduce recoil. In your opinion, would you use accuracy perks on slug shotguns? By my testing, they seem to be very accurate by default. I don't observe much spread. Interesting. They're answering all kinds of crazy questions. Slug shotguns are very accurate, so it's likely only worth using accuracy perks if you plan on using them while airborne or in other situations that reduce accuracy. What are the numbers on enhanced perks? Are there any guidelines or rules of thumb for all? Specifically, how many do the enhanced versions of Firmly Planted and Opening Shot give versus the base perks? The guideline is that an enhanced perk should be 5 to 10% stronger than the base perk. We do exceed this in some cases, though. Here's an example of the enhanced versions. Enhanced Firmly Planted grants an additional +5 stability, +5 handling compared to the base perk. Got it. Enhanced Opening Shot grants an additional +5 range and +5 aim assist compared to the base perk. I am genuinely curious why the One Quiet Moment origin trait was created. What's the benefit of having increased reload outside of combat? It is a really odd one. The intended loop is to pause after engagement to see whether you have another enemy to deal with before reloading your weapon, because being caught mid-reload is bad news. This is something that doesn't match everyone's playstyle, though, so we'll be updating this in Season 19. Okay. What is the minimum draw time on bows after the recent changes? Minimum draw time is 500 milliseconds for lightweight frames and 540 milliseconds for precision frames. Got it. Odds and ends and some fun with our Australian players. Neighbors or home and away. Neighbors. When is the Nutbush emote coming to the game? We've heard a rumor that there may be a weird Australian-ish dance emote coming shortly after Lightfall. Interesting. When do we get truly Ocker perk names like Drongo, 2-Up, Rackoff, and Struth? Weapon names. What is this? Weapon names only so far, but there is a fair amount of those, and they're not accidental, such as Tarba, Funnelweb, Redback, and Lunalata. What favorite weapon perk combinations does the weapons team have? Proctor. Oh, we got everyone's favorite perk combinations. Okay. Perpetual motion surrounded on sidearms and submachine guns. Heating up in rampage on pulse rifles. That's fire. Stats for all plus reservoir burst on fusion rifles. Stats for all on reservoir, I guess, yeah. Grave Robber plus Golden Tricorn on arc weapons. Interesting. Don't know about that one as much. And then we've got moving. But maybe I should try some of these combinations. Maybe they know more than us sometimes, right? We gotta try all these out. See which one is the best. Very cool. I'm gonna pass over a little bit of this. What replica weapon would each designer want? Ooh, very cool. Oh, they've got redacted ones for the new seasons. Interesting. I'd be interested in looking at what perks make god rolls on what weapons. What would be recommended for scout rifle, submachine gun, and pulse rifle? What works and why? Depends on what the role of the weapon is going to be. The roles can be broken up into some general areas. PvE, regardless of the role, generally perks that increase damage, increase magazine size, grant ammo, or improve reload speed are prioritized for ad clear, yellow bar, champ, and DPS weapons. Ad clearing perks that trigger on final blow are great. Rampage, subsistence, swashbuckler, and feeding frenzy. Tanky, target, and DPS perks that trigger neutrally or from dealing damage like frenzy. PvP, two very different styles of perk preference. Perks that increase the consistency of the gun and 1v1 engagements, moving target, rangefinder, opening shot, Eye of the Storm. Killing chain perks that provide dramatic improvements to the weapon performance, i.e. kill clip, tunnel vision, killing wind, etc. Yeah, I would say like god rolls for. I mean, every weapon is different, and if you're PvE, PvP, but like a pulse rifle, you want like max out that stability, that recoil direction. What is your opinion on rangefinder drastically changing the effective engagement distances on weapons? The zoom benefit already improves damage fall off and effective accuracy, but the aim assist fall off increases feels like a lot. So this is actually a really good topic because rangefinder is kind of a really, really strong perk. And we'll see what they do in the future with it. We'll be removing the added aim assist fall off in the mid-season balance pass. The perk is ridiculously strong with just the zoom bonus. It doesn't need to increase aim assist fall off in addition to that. Yep. That makes sense. Is someone going to fix, which is why I've been telling you all rangefinder is so good, by the way. Is someone going to fix the Fate of All Fools perk on the Jade Rabbit? It's totally inconsistent and sometimes doesn't work at all. Yes, thank you. Yes, the perk was having similar issues to what was going on with Cranial Spike on Dead Man's Tail. The plan is to change that so it rapidly chaining precision hits will make your next body shot deal the damage as a crit, and you'll be able to store up 3 increased damage body shots at a time. So if you hit 9 crits quickly, you can follow up and kill someone in PvP with 3 body shots. What? That's a huge Jade Rabbit buff. Wow, Jade Rabbit's about to tear up the crucible on big maps. Basically want to reward accuracy and then make the gun easier to use instead of the other way around. Got it. How do you feel about Season 17 and Season 18 balance changes now that they have been in the wild for a decent amount of time? We think that most of them landed pretty well, and all things considered, high impact 150 RPM scout rifles probably got overbuffed by a small bit. Auto rifles probably did not get buffed enough. They're saying one. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. We've seen both precision frame 180 RPM scout rifles and hand cannons come up in usage and effectiveness, which is great. What future balance changes should we be looking forward to? In the mid-season balance pass, we'll be making a number of changes to both under and overperforming archetypes. Wow. Stability buff to autos and traces, small buff to critical damage to adaptive frames. Wow. Slightly reduce effective range on pulse rifles, mid-stat values. Nerfs to Jade Rabbit, no time explained. And the ease of use. Wow. Continuation of the Lord of Wolves rework. Oh, there it is. Small rocket launcher's blast radius buff. Glaive damage resistance nerf. Let's go. That's good. Sidearm aim assist fall off buff. Sniper flinch rework. That's good. Very small tweaks to some machine guns that are outperforming their intended ranges. Rip funnel web. Small decrease to high impact scout rifles damage. Some outliers that have zoom levels outside normal parameters are being brought back in line. Risk runner PvP arc damage reduction. Let's go. That's what's up. In Season 19, we have an additional list of changes we'll be making, including removing some shotgun randomness, improved hit detection for glaives, reworking / changing nearly 20 weapon perks, reworking changing over 20 exotic weapons. All good stuff. The trace rifles. Wow, this goes on forever. Oh my gosh. Oh, we're almost there. The trace rifles have accuracy bloom as you hold down the trigger. Nope. Is under pressure going to be nerfed on fusion rifles? How are you going to finally rein in Xur's main ingredient without diminishing precision frames as a whole? We're not going to nerf under pressure on fusion rifles. Most likely thing we will do if main ingredient usage doesn't come down naturally is lower its stats. This will allow it to avoid hitting all precision frame fusion rifles and give other weapons in the subfamily room to breathe. Got it. That being said, precision frame fusion rifles as a subfamily outside of main ingredient are still very strong, and we're looking at them too. Perfect. I think that's fair. Are there any plans to add more subclass verbs to more exotics? Lots of plans. Nothing concrete to share now, but we're always looking out for places where we can add subclass verbs. We have to be cautious as some intrinsic functionality of the verbs may actually be worse than what is on the exotic weapon, or the uptime of the verb on the exotic weapon would cause severe balance issues with subclass interactions. Will skill-based matchmaking being present in control have any effect on the way we handle weapon balancing? We already used survival and trials as more indicative game modes for balance purposes. Survival has had skill-based matchmaking, and trials has had flawless pool, which enables us to see what good players use and what is effective when they are more likely to care about winning. It will, however, allow us to see the different skill groups of players that generally avoid survival or trials use and what they are effective with when they are not in skill pools that are mixed as control used to be. Proctor, if skill-based matchmaking continues to roll out over time, it may give us the option to revisit weapon skill gaps. What are your plans for sniper rifle? That would be interesting. What are your plans for sniper rifle and special linear fusion rifle? Flinch. For sniper rifle flinch, we have dramatically increased the time it takes for the reticle to reset back to the center after taking damage, which in playtest has seen a marked decrease in the amount of times players are able to shoot through flinch. Perfect. I think that's a great change. This will not prevent players from trading with the sniper rifle in their first shot, nor will it hurt players from using sniper rifles who disengage to allow reticle to reset there before peeking again, but it should hopefully address the instance of hitting someone using a sniper rifle with multiple crits only to get sniped through it. If this change plays out successfully in the game outside of testing, we will try to migrate it over to the special linear fusion rifles. Perfect. That's what needs to happen. Any fusion rifle changes coming, like rapid fire frame buff? Want to see how the shotgun changes land before we rebuff rapid fire frames? Oh god, please don't do it. What can be done to make Headseeker more interesting? The plan is to increase the duration the perk is active, have the perk reset on body shots when it's already active, and have it increase aim assist by a very small amount. And playtest is very good, arguably one of the best perks for pulse rifles. That's going to be crazy if they buff Headseeker. Pulse rifles they're already the meta. Buff Headseeker, that's going to be insane, especially on 340s. Be two bursting people when you hit some body shots. Yikes. Do aggressive frames have high caliber rounds baked in? No, however, the flinch from the single shot is proportional to the damage, so high damage per bullet weapons will flinch more than low damage per weapon bullets. Dynamic sway reduction seems like one of the most misunderstood perks in the game. Can you explain a little bit about how that works? Dynamic sway reduction starts working as soon as you start firing. Each subsequent shot improves its effects until it maxes out around 20 shots, so high RPM weapons get maximum benefits more quickly than low RPM weapons. There you go. That's why I think that's so good for auto rifles, especially 720s. The perk deactivates as soon as you stop firing. What exactly does box breathing do? After being ADS for 1.5 seconds, box breathing increases the precision damage multiplier and increases the aim assist fall off distance by 10%. It resets when you fire the weapon or leave ADS. Is there a way to estimate how much zoom increases the effectiveness cone angles? Well, here we go. This is crazy. On most weapons, you can just divide the base cone angle by the zoom, i.e. 3 degrees base 1.5 times. What is this? Am I reading calculus right now? Equals 2 degrees. Zoom reduces the size of both aim assist and accuracy cones, which means you are more accurate at higher zooms but have a smaller aim assist radius. That being said, some weapons have additional scaling on top, like sniper rifles with aim assist. Let me just grab my protractor and my TI-83, and I'm going to do the math on this real quick. All right, so there's a Twitchcon Emblem. If you go there, I'll probably try and snag one of those and do a giveaway on Twitter. We got a list of the player support report. Let me know your thoughts about all those weapon changes. Got the Twab, the Artist of the Week. That's a meaty Twab. I'm excited for all the changes. Looks like Season 19 is about to be absolutely nuts. And that's a wrap on this extremely long Twab video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed. Keep you up to date on all the news in Destiny 2. See you in the next one. Later.